It was a quiet Friday evening in Maplewood, and Claire had just finished her long week at the bookstore. The sky was painted in soft oranges and purples, and the streets had that calm, almost sleepy feeling that comes before the weekend fully begins. She was locking up her bike outside her apartment when she heard a familiar voice call out. "Hey, Claire, need a lift somewhere?" She turned to see Alex, her neighbor's nephew, leaning casually against his car. He was 24, with an easy smile that seemed to catch the sunlight just right. Claire hadn't planned on going anywhere, but there was something in his tone, friendly, inviting, that made her hesitate. "I was just heading home," she said, forcing a smile. "I can walk." "Nonsense," Alex replied, grinning. "Hop in. I've got some time, and I could use the company." There was something strangely comforting about the idea. It wasn't every day someone offered a ride just to chat. Claire nodded, and soon she was sliding into the passenger seat. The car smelled faintly of coffee and pine air freshener, and the hum of the engine filled the small space. For the first few minutes, the conversation was casual. They talked about the bookstore, the new cafe down the street, and the small annoyances of city life. Claire found herself laughing more than she had in days. Alex had a way of making even mundane topics feel light, warm, and personal. Then, as they drove down a quieter street, something shifted. Claire noticed the way the setting sun hit his profile, the way he looked at her when she laughed. It was subtle, but enough to make her heart flutter. She pushed the feeling aside, telling herself it was probably just the comfort of a familiar presence. Alex broke the silence with a question she hadn't expected. "Do you ever feel like life's moving too fast? Like everything's happening, and you're just watching?" Claire paused, considering. "All the time," she admitted. "Sometimes I wish I could just pause everything and figure out what really matters." He nodded, eyes on the road, but there was something almost vulnerable in the way he said it. "Yeah, I get that. That's why I like moments like this. Simple, quiet. Just driving, talking. No rush." There was a weight to his words that caught Claire off guard. She found herself opening up more than she expected, sharing little details about her life, her hopes, and her quiet frustrations. Alex listened carefully, not interrupting, just offering the occasional comment that made her feel understood. A few minutes later, the conversation drifted to more personal things, the kind of small confessions you only make when you feel safe. Claire realized she had never felt this comfortable with someone she wasn't dating or lifelong friends with. And yet, with Alex, it felt natural. He reached a turn in the road and slowed down, glancing at her. "I don't know why, but I'm really glad you're here tonight. Driving like this, it makes me feel like maybe some things can just be simple." Claire felt a warmth spread through her chest. There was no pressure in his words, only sincerity. She smiled softly, unsure why her heart was beating a little faster. They drove in silence for a while, the kind that wasn't awkward but reflective, filled with the sounds of the tires against the asphalt and distant birds settling for the night. Claire found herself stealing glances at Alex, noticing details she hadn't before, the slight crease at the corner of his eye when he smiled, the gentle way he steered through the quiet streets. Then, almost without realizing it, they ended up at a small park near the edge of town. Alex parked under a street lamp that flickered softly, bathing the car in golden light. Neither of them spoke for a moment. It felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them, a quiet pause in an otherwise busy life. Claire looked out the window, feeling a mix of surprise and comfort. This drive, which had started as a casual favor, had turned into something unexpected. Something she wasn't sure she was ready to name, but couldn't ignore either. Alex turned to her with a tentative smile. "I hope this isn't too forward, but I'm really glad I asked you to come along. Tonight feels right." Her heart skipped. She nodded, unable to put into words the sudden flutter she felt. It wasn't romance yet, not exactly. But there was a spark, subtle and unspoken, that neither of them could deny. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. As the street lamp flickered above, Claire realized something. This short drive with her neighbor's nephew had quietly shifted her evening and perhaps something more. She felt a nervous excitement, a gentle tension she couldn't shake. Claire watched as Alex sat quietly, hands loosely gripping the steering wheel. The park around them was almost empty, the kind of stillness that made every small sound, like the rustle of leaves or distant footsteps, stand out. For a moment, neither spoke. It felt comfortable and tense at the same time, like both of them were waiting for something neither knew how to name. Finally, Alex broke the silence. Do you ever wonder if life has a way of nudging you toward people you're supposed to meet? Claire tilted her head, intrigued. I think, maybe it does. Why? He shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I don't know. I just feel like tonight wasn't random. Like, meeting you here, sharing this drive, it feels like it was meant to happen. Claire's heart fluttered again. There was a sincerity in his voice that made her cheeks warm. She wasn't sure why she was affected so deeply, but she couldn't deny it. It felt rare, this kind of connection with someone she barely knew. I'm glad I came, she admitted softly. Even if it was just a drive, it feels different. Better, somehow. Alex glanced at her, his eyes reflecting the soft light from the street lamp. Better, he repeated, almost to himself. Then, after a beat, he added, I think I've been waiting for something like this without even realizing it. The words hung between them. Claire felt a surge of emotion, unexpected, but not unwelcome. She wanted to reach out, to say more, but the fear of ruining the quiet magic held her back. Instead, she leaned back in her seat, letting the moment stretch. They talked then, slowly and carefully, about everything and nothing. Childhood memories, favorite books, music that mattered to them. Claire was surprised at how easy it was to speak with him, how natural it felt to share pieces of herself she usually kept private. At one point, Alex laughed softly at something she said. The sound was warm, low, and genuine. Claire noticed the small way his eyes crinkled, the subtle shift in his tone that made her feel lighter. Do you think we'd ever do this again? She asked, her voice tentative. Alex didn't answer immediately. He took a deep breath, like he was weighing his words. I'd like that. I mean, yeah, I'd like that a lot. Claire smiled, a mix of relief and happiness flooding her chest. The tension that had hovered at the start of the evening was fading, replaced with a quiet sense of possibility. They sat for a few more minutes, talking in low tones. The park was empty now, the night deeper, the air cooler. A soft wind drifted in, carrying the faint scent of nearby flowers and freshly cut grass. It was a perfect, ordinary moment, but ordinary moments sometimes carried the weight of something extraordinary. Alex finally started the car again, breaking the stillness. I should probably take you home, he said, though neither seemed eager to leave. Claire nodded, a little disappointed. Yeah, but I'm glad we stayed here a while. He smiled, and there was something almost shy in his expression. Me too. Honestly, I wasn't sure you'd want to stay. I didn't want to overstep. You didn't, she reassured him. It was nice, really nice. The drive back was quiet, but it was comfortable. Neither of them needed to fill every silence. Claire found herself stealing glances at Alex, noting the easy confidence in his posture, the gentle way he occasionally hummed along with a song on the radio. It was calming and exhilarating at the same time. When they arrived at her building, Claire felt a pang of reluctance. She didn't want the night to end, not yet. But she stepped out of the car, trying to hide the flutter in her chest. Alex hesitated before speaking. So, maybe we could do something like this again? Soon. Claire smiled, her eyes meeting his. I'd like that. There was a pause then, the kind that carries quiet meaning. Neither rushed to speak, and yet, everything important had been said in the glance they shared. She waved as he pulled away, feeling a strange mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. That simple drive, which had started as a casual favor, had become something far more significant. Something neither of them had expected, but both felt deeply. Claire stood there for a moment, watching his car disappear down the street. A gentle shiver ran through her, not from the night air, but from the sudden awareness that her life had shifted, however quietly, in just a few hours. The next morning, Claire woke to the soft hum of the city outside her window. The memory of the drive lingered, warm and unexpected. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had quietly changed between her and Alex. The thought made her heart race, But it wasn't anxiety, it was anticipation. She went about her day, arranging books at the store, helping customers, and keeping her mind busy. But every so often, her thoughts drifted back to that evening. The way Alex's eyes had caught hers in the park, the way he had spoken about life as if he understood her in ways she hadn't expected. Around noon, her phone buzzed. A message from Alex appeared. "Hey, I was thinking about our drive last night. Want to grab a coffee later?" Her chest tightened in a way that felt almost dizzying. She smiled, typing back, "I'd like that. How about 3? By mid-afternoon, she found herself walking toward a small cafe nearby. She arrived a few minutes early, watching people pass on the sidewalk, but her attention kept drifting to the door. Then she saw him, Alex, leaning against the counter, a soft smile on his face. "Hey," he greeted as she approached. His voice carried the same warmth she remembered from the night before. "Hey," Claire replied, her own smile returning. There was a moment of pause, a quiet acknowledgement of the unspoken connection from the previous evening. They ordered coffee and found a corner table by the window. The city hummed outside, but inside, it felt like a bubble, just the two of them, talking again. Alex was easy to talk to, his presence calming and steady. They laughed about minor frustrations from work, shared small stories from their childhoods, and even debated over the best type of coffee. Claire found herself opening up even more, realizing how rare it was to feel this comfortable with someone new. "I keep thinking about last night," Alex said after a moment, his tone thoughtful. "It was different, you know? Nice different. Not forced." Claire nodded. "I felt the same. It's weird how a short drive could feel so meaningful." He smiled, a little sheepishly. "I wasn't sure if it was too much, if I was overthinking it. But I didn't want to miss the chance to spend time with you." Her heart skipped a beat. She wanted to tell him she felt the same, but the words seemed to get caught in her throat. Instead, she reached for her cup, sipping slowly, letting the silence speak in the spaces between them. As they talked, Claire noticed small details she hadn't before, the way he tilted his head when he was listening, the slight curl of his lips when he found something amusing, the warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. It wasn't dramatic, but it was compelling in a way she couldn't ignore. Eventually, the conversation drifted to quieter topics. Dreams, fears, and the little things that made them who they were. Claire realized how much she enjoyed this slow unfolding of understanding between them. She liked that it didn't have to be rushed or labeled, it simply existed. Alex's hand brushed against the table near hers, and neither moved it away. Claire felt a jolt, a reminder of the subtle electricity that had started on that drive. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was there, a gentle reminder that this connection was real and quietly growing. When it was time to leave, neither of them wanted to rush. They walked outside together, letting the city's late afternoon glow wash over them. "Same time tomorrow?" Alex asked casually, though his eyes hinted at a hopefulness he didn't voice. "I'd like that," Claire said, smiling. "I really would." As they parted, she watched him walk away, the warmth from their time together lingering. She felt light, energized, but also a little nervous. This connection was deepening faster than she'd expected. Later that evening, she found herself replaying the day in her mind. The drive, the park, the coffee, it all seemed like a quiet turning point. She didn't know where it would lead, but she knew one thing. Alex had quietly become a part of her thoughts in a way no one else had. She went to bed that night with a gentle smile, the anticipation of seeing him again already making her heart race. Something small, something unexpected, had begun, and it felt like the start of something that might quietly change both their lives. The next morning, Claire woke with a flutter of excitement she hadn't expected. She had agreed to meet Alex again for a walk along the river trail, and the thought made her heart beat a little faster. The city was waking up slowly, sunlight spilling through the curtains, and the air carried the crisp freshness of early fall. She arrived at the trail a few minutes early, watching the calm river reflect the golden morning light. Birds called softly in the trees, and the quiet was a welcome contrast to the busy week behind her. Then she saw Alex, jogging lightly toward her, waving with a wide, easy smile. "Morning," he called, slightly breathless. "Morning," Claire replied, laughing. "You're energetic today." He grinned. Trying to keep up with you, obviously. The walk began slowly, with casual conversation about weekend plans and work. But soon, as the path curved along the riverbank, the conversation shifted. They shared memories from their past, stories that weren't always easy to tell but came naturally in the presence of someone who listened without judgment. Claire noticed the way Alex's eyes softened when he spoke about things that mattered to him. She felt a gentle warmth in her chest, a mixture of comfort and growing admiration. It wasn't just attraction, though that was there, but a quiet sense of connection, like their thoughts and feelings were weaving together without force. At one point, they stopped at a small bench overlooking the water. Alex leaned back, hands resting on the seat, and let out a quiet sigh. "I never realized how much I needed something like this," he said softly. A moment without rush, without pressure. Just quiet. Claire nodded, understanding more than she could explain. "Me too. It's rare to feel this at ease with someone." He turned slightly to look at her, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to narrow. Claire felt a flutter of nerves, an awareness of the closeness, of the easy rhythm between them. It wasn't dramatic, it was subtle, a quiet pull she couldn't ignore. "Claire," he began, hesitating just slightly, I really like spending time with you. These past few days, it's been different. Special." Her heart skipped, and she realized how much she wanted to hear those words. She smiled softly. "I feel the same, Alex. It's nice to feel understood." There was a pause, heavy with meaning, as if neither wanted to rush what was unfolding. The river glimmered in the morning light, carrying their quiet breaths and the sound of distant waterfowl. They continued walking, their shoulders brushing slightly, the contact accidental but meaningful. Claire felt the warmth linger long after it passed, a reminder of how alive the moment made her feel. Alex pointed to a small cafe across the trail. "Coffee?" he asked, though the hope in his voice was unmistakable. "Absolutely," she replied, and they crossed the path together. Inside, the cafe smelled like fresh bread and brewed coffee. They ordered, and again found a quiet corner, laughter and conversation flowing easily. As they talked, Claire noticed the subtle ways their interactions were changing. The way Alex listened, leaning in slightly, how their jokes lingered a little longer, and the comfortable silences that seemed to carry more meaning than words. Outside, the sun climbed higher, and a soft breeze swept through the open window. Claire realized that this simple routine walk, coffee, conversation was starting to mean more than she'd expected. Something quiet and gentle was growing between them, and she didn't want to rush it. By the time they left, both of them were smiling in a way that felt unspoken but entirely understood. Walking back toward their cars, Claire felt a warmth that wasn't just the morning sun, it was the realization that this connection with Alex was real, tangible, and quietly unfolding into something meaningful. Later, alone in her apartment, Claire replayed the morning over and over. She thought about the way Alex's eyes had softened, the way he had spoken so honestly, and the small moments that had carried so much weight. It was subtle, but the feeling of anticipation and hope was undeniable. She set her coffee cup down, staring out at the fading sunlight. Something had shifted quietly, gently, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead. She felt a sense of peace and excitement, an unusual mix that made her chest feel full in a way she hadn't experienced in a long time. But just as she was lost in thought, her phone buzzed. A message from Alex appeared. "I found something I think you'll love. Meet me at the park tomorrow evening." Her pulse quickened. She didn't know what he had planned, but she knew it would be meaningful. Something told her that this small, unexpected connection was about to take another quiet turn. The next evening, Claire arrived at the park just as the sky was turning a deep shade of indigo. Street lamps flickered on, casting pools of soft light along the paths. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of fallen leaves and the quiet hum of the city settling into night. She spotted Alex waiting near a bench, a small bundle in his hands, smiling when he saw her approach. "Hey," he said softly, his voice warm in the quiet evening. "Hey," she replied, a smile tugging at her lips. Her chest felt light, yet fluttering with anticipation. He handed her the bundle. "I thought you might like this," he said. Claire unwrapped it to find a small sketchbook, the pages filled with delicate drawings of the river, the park, and other little places they had mentioned over the past few days. "Oh, Alex, this is amazing," she whispered, touched by the thoughtfulness. Each sketch captured the small moments she had come to cherish: the quiet bench by the river, the cafe corner, the streets they had walked together. "I wanted to remember these moments," he said softly. "I know we're just getting to know each other, but I don't want to forget." Claire felt a lump in her throat. It was rare for someone to notice the details that mattered, to care about memories so small yet so meaningful. I don't know what to say. Thank you." They sat on the bench together, sharing stories behind each sketch. Claire laughed quietly at some, smiled at others, and felt a profound sense of connection. Alex watched her carefully, as if memorizing every expression, every little gesture. The conversation grew softer, more reflective. They talked about hopes for the future, about fears and dreams, about things they hadn't shared with anyone else. In those moments, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them, filled with understanding, trust, and quiet affection. Alex turned slightly toward her, his eyes reflecting the street lamp's golden glow. "I know it might seem sudden, but I feel like these past few days have been important. To me, at least." Claire nodded, her own feelings rising to the surface. "They have been. I feel it too." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken words, before Alex reached out, lightly brushing her hand with his. It wasn't a dramatic gesture, just simple and gentle, but it carried a quiet weight that made her heart race. Claire felt warmth spread through her, a mix of relief and happiness. The quiet tension between them had grown into something tender, something that neither needed to name immediately but both understood. They watched the river for a while, the water reflecting the city lights in tiny, scattered diamonds. Claire leaned back slightly, resting her head against the bench, feeling the subtle closeness to Alex beside her. It was ordinary and extraordinary all at once, a small, gentle moment that held more meaning than either could have expected. "Do you think," Alex began, his voice hesitant, "that sometimes life nudges us toward the right people without us realizing it?" Claire smiled softly. "I think it does. And maybe we're in one of those moments right now." He chuckled quietly, his gaze never leaving hers. "I'm glad." As the night deepened, they stayed on that bench, talking, laughing softly, and simply being together. The city around them faded into the background, leaving only the quiet intimacy of shared presence. Claire realized that these small, unexpected moments were shaping something that mattered far more than she had anticipated. Eventually, the air grew cooler, and they stood to leave. Alex walked her to her building, each step measured, deliberate, but easy. Neither wanted to rush the goodbye, but both understood it was inevitable. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked gently, his eyes warm. Claire nodded, smiling. "I wouldn't miss it." As she watched him drive away, a soft contentment settled over her. That short drive, which had begun as a simple favor, had grown into something meaningful, a quiet connection that had unfolded gently but firmly. It was unexpected, yes, but also exactly what she hadn't realized she needed. Claire went inside, closing the door behind her, feeling a calm excitement. Life had a way of surprising her, of turning ordinary days into moments she would remember forever. And with Alex quietly becoming part of her life, she couldn't help but wonder what other small, meaningful turns awaited them. The night was still, the city calm, and somewhere between the street lamps and the quiet river, a small story had begun, one of connection, trust, and quiet affection that promised to grow in ways neither of them could yet imagine. The evening left her with a gentle thought: some of the most profound changes come from the quietest moments. And tonight, Claire knew, her life had quietly shifted in the most beautiful way. The future was uncertain, yes, but filled with promise, and she felt ready to embrace it.